Welcome to the Deanna Herron podcast show. This is Deanna Herron, your host. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to share with you on this podcast one thing that will absolutely keep you from living your greatest self. And what is that? It is being so worried about the opinions of others that it stops you dead in your tracks. I'm going to talk to you from a personal perspective because I have experienced it myself. So don't forget, last week's podcast was all about procrastination. So if you struggle with really getting things going and moving and you struggle with some procrastination, go back and listen to the previous podcast. So let's get started. I want to start off with a quote that I think is super powerful for today's podcast. And it's by Ed Sheeran, of all people, a musician. But this is one that really spoke to my soul, and I hope that it will speak to yours as well. And he says, I can't tell you the key to success, but the key to failure is trying to please everyone. You guys, I'm going to tell you that was me. My name is Deanna Herron, and I am a recovering people pleaser. That was something that I had been all of my life. So, can I have your permission today to speak life into you and to really be real, to really get into your heart and soul in those depths of that people pleasing that you don't even know exist? So, there are so many women out there, and I hear about it daily. I hear about it weekly. I hear about it constantly. So many women who are living a life that is unfulfilled. And I'm going to ask you a question. Who are you being on a day to day basis? Most women that I come in contact with are living a life inconsistent of who they really are because somebody told them they couldn't, somebody told them they shouldn't, and somebody told them it wouldn't. So let me back up and explain that. So someone told you that you couldn't do this. Maybe you had a great idea. Maybe you want to start a company or a business where you're creating planners, calendars, notebooks, whatever that is. Or maybe you want to venture out and start your own business as an entrepreneur, but somebody out there told you you couldn't do it for whatever reason, and it stops you in your tracks. Or maybe somebody told you you shouldn't do it because those businesses don't work, or you're going to experience failure, and I don't want to see you fail. Has anyone ever told you that? Or maybe somebody told you it wouldn't work. I've experienced all three of those. And I was living my life inconsistent of who I am created to be. So, you know that your life is inconsistent with what you're supposed to be doing because three of the following: you feel dead on the inside. So, do you really feel like there's something missing in your life? You feel like there is something that I should be doing. I feel dead inside. And it's because you're living a life that's inconsistent with who you know you're supposed to be. Are you living your day just to get through it? I remember that when I was practicing medicine as a PA, and I'm going to tell you, I loved it. I loved it. But I caught myself waking up to an alarm clock, eating breakfast, getting the kids off to school, going to work, having lunch, working, getting home, making dinner, kids in the bathtub, kids to bed, set the alarm clock, start all over. I was just getting through my day. Can you relate to that at all? And I was energyless because I was feeling dead inside. I was just living my day to get through it. And sometimes, you guys, we have to do that for sure. But when you're living your life consistently, day by day, just to get through that day, you're not living your life and you don't have energy. You just feel lifeless. So I'm going to ask you a question. Who did you give your power to? Who told you you couldn't, you wouldn't, or you shouldn't? Who told you that? Who gave you your power back? I want you to really think about that. Who was it? Who said it? Why did you give them your power? Because basically, what you're doing is you're giving them control over your life and your destiny. You've just given that person control over your life and your destiny. So, as an example, when I first started in entrepreneurship, I was practicing medicine. So, it was something completely outside of my comfort zone. And I was extremely busy in medicine, but I just had this desire in my heart that my life could be different. And I wanted to venture out and experience what life could be like if I had control, financial freedom, flexibility, etc. And I had several people in my life that told me, you shouldn't do that. I don't think you can. And what if it doesn't work? Several people told me that, you guys, but I had this deep tug in my heart, this deep desire that I could make a different life for myself and my family. So I basically had two choices. I could follow that tug in my heart. I could follow that inner voice that I heard, Deanna, you are created for more. Or I could give my life over to the opinions of other people. I want to be really clear with you, you guys, really clear. This is a choice you have. So you can either go for whatever it is that you have been called to do, or you can give your life and your destiny over to the opinion of someone else. You know what's so crazy about that is those people that told me I couldn't, shouldn't, or wouldn't had never even done anything close to what I was getting ready to do. And they were trying to tell me not to do entrepreneurship. They were trying to tell me not to go into that uncomfortable zone, but they didn't know what I was doing. And so, why do we allow the opinions of others, especially someone who's never ventured out on the road you're about to go into? Why do we allow those people to steal our dreams? Those are called dream stealers. And why do we give them our power? So, the opinion of someone else does not deserve to hold you back from your destiny. It doesn't deserve that. So, I'm going to ask you a question and something to think about. Do you think those people know your calling? Because you are basically giving your life over to that person, over to that opinion that they have of your destiny. So, do you think they know your calling? They don't know your calling. They don't know your calling. Someone else's opinion is not your business. I've said that so many times. They don't know your calling. I'm going to repeat it one more time. People do not know your calling. You know who does? You do. You know your calling. So what is your calling? A lot of people say, Deanna, I don't know it. I really don't know it. I'm going to give you just a little insight on how you can figure that out. So what is your calling? I'm going to ask you, what is it that sets your soul on fire? Is it cooking? Is it being around kids? Is it being around adults? Is it being around senior citizens? Is it being creative? Is it painting? Is it art? Is it writing a book? What is it? What sets your soul on fire? You may have to dig really deep to try and figure that out, because over the years you have kind of added some dust to whatever set your soul on fire because you didn't believe it could happen or somebody told you it couldn't happen. What sets your soul on fire? I really want you to think about that. So after this podcast, I want you to answer that question. What is it that sets your soul on fire? It's what gives you joy. So whatever it is that sets your soul on fire and gives you joy, that's your calling. So when you do something, you know how you feel. You feel joyful. You're like, man, I feel good after I do this. You feel that peace in your heart. When I speak to women, when I talk to women about their greatness, that brings me the greatest joy I've ever experienced in my life. And you know why? It's because I've experienced those times when I was down, when I didn't believe in myself. And so my purpose, my calling is to show you your greatness. That brings me the biggest joy. It sets my soul on fire. And it's the reason why I get up in the morning. It's the reason why I get up in the morning. So Figure out what sets your soul on fire. It doesn't have to be what I do. It doesn't have to be what your neighbor does or your best friend. It's your calling. It sets your soul on fire and it brings you joy and you feel it. It's that one thing where you can really tell yourself after you do it, oh, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. After I do a podcast, after I do a training, after I speak with someone on a call, I get off that phone and I go, Deanna, I'm so proud of you. You are living up to your calling. That is your calling, you guys. When you can actually tell yourself, wow, this brings me joy. This is what I want to do. This sets my soul on fire. And you can actually tell yourself, and you hear that voice in your head that's saying, well done. Well done. You can hear it. That is your calling. So, I know that you know this. There's an inner voice that you hear that tells you, you are created for more. I have big plans for you. I know you've heard it, but sometimes we kind of put that on the back burner. We put it in the back seat instead of letting that voice sit in the front seat with us. We say, get in the back because we don't want to hear it, because we don't believe we can, or somebody else told us we couldn't. But you've heard that voice. You've heard that voice. So, why do we believe that someone else's opinion is better than what we're hearing in our deep depths of our soul? Why do we believe that? I'm going to tell you why we believe that. There's a small place in your brain, and it's very small, that its purpose is to keep you safe. And it's been there your entire life. Its very purpose is to keep you safe. This part of your brain is created for the times when you are in a place of desperation. Say, for example, you saw that a car was about to fall on somebody, and you run over there, and this incredible strength comes over you, and you're able to lift up that car. That's this part of your brain. The reality is, we don't experience having to pick up a car very often, but what we do experience is trying to get out of our comfort zone. We experience that a lot. And so that part of your brain comes into play, and it wants to keep you safe when you're trying to venture out and do something different. Look it up, because I'm not going to go into it in great detail, but it's called the reptilian brain. The reptilian brain. Read more about it. It makes so much sense. But when you're about to take any risk, the reptilian brain will naturally hold you back. It will naturally hold you back because it wants to keep you safe. And the fact that you're trying to step out and get uncomfortable, it wants to bring you back to that homeostasis, that level of comfort. And when we hear that someone else is confirming that reptilian brain is telling us to be safe, you shouldn't do that, you couldn't do that, we start believing the voices of other people, because it's really playing that same noise that the reptilian brain is. So we seek that out and we seek that comfort. I'm going to tell you right now, your number one goal in being successful is overriding that reptilian brain. Your number one goal. Overriding that reptilian brain, and do not go out and seek the opinions of other people. Nobody knows that secret in your soul. Nobody knows your calling but you. Nobody has heard that voice inside your head that's saying, you're created for more. I have bigger plans for you than the life you're living today. Nobody has heard that. That is only you. It is said that every successful person had one person standing beside them who believed in them. One person. That one person for me was my husband. That one person. But I'm going to tell you, in the beginning of my entrepreneurship, it wasn't my husband. My husband wasn't on board with what I was doing, because my income as a PA was stable. It was consistent. It was reliable. We knew what was coming in. Entrepreneurship is not so reliable. You never know what's going to happen, right? And so he wasn't necessarily that person in the beginning. But quickly, after I explained to him what I saw happening with my entrepreneur plan, he jumped on board and he stood beside me and he believed in me. You guys, I don't know if you have that person right now. I don't know if you do, but I'm going to be that person for you. I am your person. And I want to be your person because I know what you're going through firsthand. I've experienced it. I've stepped out so many times in my life, from being the first one in my family to get a high school diploma, obviously being the first one to go to college. I paid for my college. I paid my way through PA school. I became an entrepreneur and author and now a podcast. And I know you can too. I know you can. I want to be your person. You guys, nobody in your life deserves to take away your calling. And that's what this boils down to, is we are allowing what other people think of us, the fear of failure, to override our calling. I want to be your person. I believe in you. I would love to hear from you.